You know, when we're young, we often think that life peaks somewhere in our 40s or 50s. We imagine that by 60, things start to slow down, that the best years have already been lived, and what remains is just a gentle downhill walk. Many of us carried that quiet fear into our later years, unsure of what waited on the other side of that milestone birthday. But here's the quiet truth that so many of us only come to realize with time. Life doesn't end after 60. It truly begins. At 60, we're no longer chasing to prove ourselves like we once did. The career ladder, the constant rush, the heavy responsibilities, many of those pressures soften. What rises instead is something far more precious: clarity, peace, and the freedom to live on our own terms. We've weathered storms. We've loved, lost, stumbled, and stood back up. And because of all that, we've gained something younger years rarely offer: wisdom, a deeper understanding of what really matters, and an even deeper appreciation for simple joys that once slipped through unnoticed. The sunrise feels warmer. A quiet morning coffee becomes a moment of gratitude. The laughter of grandchildren rings sweeter than any applause from work. The weight we once carried so heavily slowly lifts, leaving us with lighter hearts and clearer minds. Today, we begin a new chapter together, a chapter filled with gentle lessons and quiet blessings that remind us the best is not behind us. The best is right now. Let's explore these beautiful truths, because after 60, life isn't winding down. It's just finally beginning. There's a quiet kind of freedom that whispers to us as we enter this stage of life, a freedom we may not have fully understood when we were younger. It's the freedom of letting go. In our earlier years, we carried so much: ambitions, expectations, regrets, responsibilities, and worries about how others viewed us. We lived under invisible weights: pressures to succeed, to meet family expectations, to fit into social molds. Many of us spent decades juggling careers, raising children, managing finances, and constantly measuring ourselves against others. We wanted to be good providers, good parents, good citizens, and while those were noble pursuits, they often came with a heavy emotional price. But after 60, something beautiful begins to happen. We start realizing that we no longer need to carry all that weight. The world's expectations seem smaller. The judgments of others feel less important. And perhaps for the first time, we begin to live for ourselves, not for approval. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It simply means we choose what truly deserves our attention. We let go of perfection. We release the constant need to control every outcome. We stop dwelling on mistakes from decades ago that no longer define who we are. You might find that old grudges no longer feel worth holding on to. Arguments that once consumed your thoughts now seem distant, almost trivial. The urge to compare your journey to someone else's fades away, replaced by gratitude for your own unique path. This kind of release feels like finally taking a deep breath after holding it in for years. One of the most powerful forms of letting go is releasing the need to be busy all the time. In our younger years, idleness often felt like laziness. But now, we learn to embrace quiet moments, sitting on the porch watching the birds, taking an afternoon nap without guilt, or simply enjoying the stillness of a peaceful morning. These are no longer wasted hours. They are precious gifts. Letting go also applies to our self-image. Many seniors struggle with how aging changes their bodies, but with wisdom comes acceptance, Every wrinkle tells a story. Every gray hair is a testament to years lived, lessons learned, and resilience earned. There's freedom in embracing who we are today, without wishing we looked or acted like our younger selves. Financial pressures may also shift. While money still matters, we often realize that true wealth lies not in our bank accounts, but in meaningful relationships, good health, and cherished memories. The relentless pursuit of more gives way to contentment with enough. Even our definition of success transforms. Instead of climbing higher, we find joy in deeper roots, nurturing relationships with children, grandchildren, and lifelong friends. We prioritize what brings peace rather than prestige. The freedom of letting go allows us to focus on the present. We no longer live for someday. We live for today. And that simple shift can fill each moment with more peace, more meaning, and more joy than all the years of striving ever did. As one wise person once said, sometimes you don't realize the weight you've been carrying until you feel the relief of putting it down. That's the gift of letting go after 60, and it opens the door to a beautiful new chapter of life. When we were younger, life often felt like a race. Days were filled with responsibilities, deadlines, and endless to-do lists. We rushed through mornings, hurried through meals, and often collapsed into bed at night, wondering where the time had gone. In all that busyness, we sometimes overlooked the simple moments that held quiet beauty. But after 60, life offers us a gentle invitation to slow down and rediscover the simple joys we once brushed past. Take, for example, the morning cup of coffee or tea. What was once a hurried gulp on the way to work can now become a sacred ritual. The warmth of the mug in your hands, the aroma filling the air, the quiet stillness before the world fully wakes up. These small moments carry a depth we never fully appreciated before. There's joy in the rhythm of nature, too. Sitting on the porch and watching the sun rise or set, listening to birds sing their morning songs, or feeling the gentle breeze on your face. These experiences remind us of life's quiet miracles, the beauty of a blooming flower, the sound of rain tapping against the window, or the sparkle of stars in a clear night sky. These are gifts we can finally pause to notice. For many, gardening becomes a new source of fulfillment. Planting seeds, nurturing growth, and watching life bloom right before your eyes is deeply satisfying. There's something humbling and grounding about working with the earth, a quiet partnership between our hands and nature's grace. Even simple meals take on new meaning. Preparing a homemade soup or baking fresh bread is no longer a chore, but a pleasure. Cooking for loved ones, sharing stories around the dinner table, or enjoying a quiet meal alone with your favorite book. These moments nourish not just the body, but the soul. The sound of grandchildren laughing, the gentle touch of a spouse's hand, the phone call from an old friend. These connections carry a sweetness we may have taken for granted in the rush of earlier years. Now they feel like precious treasures. Even ordinary tasks, folding laundry, sweeping the floor, or organizing family photos, can become meditative acts when done without hurry. There's peace in doing one thing at a time, allowing the mind to settle and the heart to open. Reading also becomes richer. With more time and fewer distractions, we can savor the words on each page, reflect deeply on the stories, and allow our imaginations to wander freely. Books no longer compete with busy schedules. They become companions in our quiet hours. Walking, too, transforms from simple exercise into a joyful experience. A slow stroll through the park, noticing the leaves rustling above or the path winding ahead, offers both physical refreshment and mental clarity. Each step becomes a gentle reminder that we are still here, still able to move, still part of this beautiful world. Rediscovering simple joys doesn't require wealth, status, or grand adventures. It asks only for presence, the ability to fully inhabit the moment you're in. And as we age, we often find that these quiet pleasures offer a deeper, more lasting happiness than anything we once chased. This is one of the greatest gifts life gives us after 60, the chance to slow down, to see again with fresh eyes, and to rediscover the quiet joys that were always waiting for us, hidden in plain sight. In our younger years, time often felt like a thief, slipping through our fingers faster than we could grasp it. Mornings bled into afternoons, weeks blurred into months, and before we knew it, whole years seemed to vanish while we were busy working, raising families, and managing responsibilities. There was always something urgent demanding our attention, always a next task, a next goal, a next problem to solve. But after 60, life offers a remarkable gift. Time returns to us, no longer chained to the relentless pace of a career or the constant needs of raising children. Many of us finally discover spaciousness in our days. The calendar that was once crammed with meetings, deadlines, and obligations now holds open blocks of quiet. This space isn't empty. It's filled with possibility. The gift of time allows us to reconnect with passions that were set aside during the busy decades. That painting hobby we once loved but had no time for. Now there's a fresh canvas waiting. The dusty guitar in the corner. Its strings call for familiar melodies once again. The books that sat unopened for years now invite us to lose ourselves in their pages. More importantly, time allows us to deepen relationships in ways that rushed living never fully permitted. We can linger longer over coffee with old friends, share unhurried conversations with children who are now adults, and spend afternoons simply playing with grandchildren, fully present in their laughter and wonder. For some, this newfound time opens doors to entirely new pursuits. Volunteering in the community, joining local clubs, taking up classes, or even traveling to places long dreamed of. There's a beautiful courage in stepping into new experiences, proving to ourselves that learning and growth never have an expiration date. But the gift of time isn't only about filling it with activities. It's also about embracing stillness, moments of reflection, prayer, or meditation that nourish the soul. Sitting quietly, watching the world move around you, and feeling deeply connected to life's gentle rhythms becomes its own kind of sacred practice. Time after 60 also gives us the chance to process our life's journey, to revisit memories, honor both joys and sorrows, and come to peace with the path that brought us here. In this spaciousness, healing often happens. Regrets soften, gratitude deepens, perspective widens. Financially, while we may live on fixed incomes or retirement savings, we often find that time itself holds more value than wealth. Experiences, not possessions, become the currency of joy. A walk in the park, a grandchild's hug, a quiet sunrise. These moments cost nothing but feel priceless. Perhaps one of the most profound gifts is the ability to live at our own pace, We are no longer swept up by the world's constant urgency. We can listen to our bodies, follow our natural rhythms, and choose how we spend our days with intentionality. The world may tell us that youth is life's peak, but those of us blessed to reach these later years know a secret. Time, once scarce, becomes abundant again if we have the wisdom to receive it. And in that abundance, we find a deeper, more lasting contentment, one that reminds us that after 60, we're not running out of time. We're finally learning how to truly live within it. When we're younger, worry seems to follow us like a constant shadow. We worry about careers, finances, raising children, pleasing others, and securing our future. The weight of responsibility feels endless, and anxiety often becomes a quiet companion in our daily lives. We live in a state of what if, always looking ahead with a mixture of hope and fear. But after 60, a new kind of clarity begins to settle in, the wisdom that gently quiets our worries. It's not that problems disappear or that life becomes completely smooth. Challenges still arise, health concerns may visit, and loved ones still face their own struggles. But something inside us changes. We no longer react with the same level of panic or urgency. Instead, we respond with calm perspective because we've seen enough of life to know that most storms eventually pass. Wisdom reminds us that many things we once agonized over simply weren't as important as we thought. We remember sleepless nights spent worrying about situations that later resolved themselves. We see how problems that once felt overwhelming slowly faded into distant memories. And with that hindsight comes a softening, a trust that life has its own rhythm and that not every twist requires us to tense up. After 60, we better understand the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. We stop exhausting ourselves trying to fix everything and everyone. Instead, we focus our energy where it truly matters, on our own peace, our health, our relationships, and our faith. One of the quiet gifts of wisdom is patience. We've learned that not everything needs an immediate solution. Some things work themselves out with time, and others are simply part of life's natural unfolding. That patience brings a serenity that younger years rarely allowed. We also gain perspective on failure and regret. In youth, mistakes often felt devastating. But as we age, we recognize that failures were often disguised lessons, painful in the moment, but shaping us into who we are today. We no longer carry shame for missteps. Instead, we carry understanding and compassion for ourselves. Health concerns may arise, but even here, wisdom tempers our worry. We take care of our bodies as best we can, but we don't obsess over every ache or wrinkle. We accept that aging brings changes, and instead of fearing them, we learn to adapt and appreciate the life we still have. Every morning we wake up becomes a quiet victory. Wisdom over worry also shows up in how we relate to others. We stop wasting energy on petty disagreements, on trying to change people, or on seeking approval. We forgive more easily, we release resentment more readily, and we recognize that everyone is on their own journey, just as we are. Perhaps most importantly, we learn to stay present. Worry lives in the future, in the imagined troubles that may or may not come. Wisdom lives in the present, in the cup of tea we hold, the grandchild we embrace, the sunrise we witness. This moment, right here, is where peace lives. As one wise saying goes, worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles, it only steals today's peace. And after 60, We finally start choosing peace over worry. We've earned this wisdom. We've lived the years, faced the storms, and come through stronger. Now, we carry with us the gentle knowledge that life is too short to spend it tangled in endless anxiety. There is beauty in trusting that whatever comes, we will face it with grace, because we've already proven we can. As we grow older, one of life's greatest lessons slowly reveals itself. The true treasure of our years is not found in what we have, but in who we share life with. After 60, deeper connections take on a richness that youth often overlooks. In our younger years, relationships could sometimes feel transactional, built around shared responsibilities, careers, or social obligations. We were busy raising children, managing households, climbing career ladders. Time was tight. Conversations were often brief, centered around logistics: who would pick up the kids, what bills needed to be paid, what projects were due at work. There was love, of course, but not always space for the depth we now crave. But after 60, life slows down enough to allow these connections to deepen in ways that feel profoundly nourishing. We no longer take moments with loved ones for granted because we better understand how fleeting life truly is. A simple afternoon spent with family becomes a memory to treasure. A long phone call with an old friend feels like a precious reunion. A shared meal becomes less about food and more about the warmth of presence. With grandchildren, the bond is often even sweeter. We have the time and patience that perhaps we couldn't always give our own children when we were younger. We listen more carefully, laugh more freely, and simply enjoy being part of their world. Their innocence, their wonder, and their wide-eyed excitement about life rekindle our own sense of joy. In many ways, grandchildren give us a chance to experience childhood again, this time with softer eyes and fuller hearts. Friendships also evolve. After 60, we often find ourselves surrounded by a smaller, more meaningful circle of friends, those who have stood the test of time. These are the people who know our stories, who have seen us through triumphs and trials, and who accept us as we are. The conversations run deeper, the silences feel more comfortable, and the bond becomes a quiet anchor through life's changes. Even within marriages or long-term partnerships, a beautiful shift can happen. With many of life's early stresses behind us, couples often find new levels of companionship, sitting quietly together in the morning, taking peaceful walks, or simply enjoying each other's presence without the need for constant words. The love that remains is not the fiery passion of youth, but the steady, enduring warmth of true partnership. But perhaps one of the most surprising connections that deepen after 60 is the one we have with ourselves. With the noise of outside expectations finally quieted, many of us take this time to truly get to know who we are. We reflect on the roads we've traveled, the choices we've made, and the values that have guided us. There's a gentle kindness we begin to offer ourselves, forgiving old mistakes, appreciating our resilience, and embracing the person we've become. Community connections often grow richer too. Whether it's volunteering, joining a local club, or simply chatting with neighbors, we discover joy in being part of something larger than ourselves. We realize that even small acts of kindness, a smile, a listening ear, a helping hand, can create ripples of warmth and belonging. Deeper connections after 60 remind us that life's greatest currency is not time or money, but love. The conversations, the shared stories, the laughter, and even the shared sorrows. These are the threads that weave our later years into something beautiful. As we walk this chapter of life, we understand that the most valuable moments are not found in grand accomplishments, but in simple togetherness. And in that togetherness, we find a fullness of heart that perhaps only time can teach us. As we sit together reflecting on these beautiful lessons, perhaps you too can feel it. That quiet truth whispering gently inside. Life after 60 is not a fading light, but a softer, warmer glow that illuminates everything more clearly than ever before. The freedom of letting go, the rediscovery of simple joys, the gift of time, the wisdom that eases worry, and the deeper connections that fill our hearts. These are not small things. They are treasures earned through years of living, learning, and loving. And they remind us that even as some doors close, many more open, inviting us into new experiences, new perspectives, and new forms of happiness. Every sunrise offers us another chance to savor this season of life, to pause, to breathe, to appreciate the small miracles woven into each day, and to share our stories. Because in sharing, we remind one another that none of us walks this path alone. Here on this channel, we'll continue to explore these gentle truths together, the lessons, the reflections, the quiet wisdom that only time can give. If you found comfort or inspiration in today's story, I warmly invite you to stay with us, subscribe, join our growing community, and allow these moments to gently accompany you through your own journey. And if you know someone, a friend, a parent, a neighbor, who may need this reminder that life still holds beauty after 60, feel free to share this video with them. Sometimes a few kind words can brighten someone's entire day. Until we meet again, may your days ahead be filled with peace, warmth, and the quiet joy of simply being here, right where you are, in this beautiful chapter of life.